loves, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Dheandra Nicolette. If you're new here, my love, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here, tuned in for your first ever episode of Manifest Daily. And if you're an OG listeners, hey girl, hey boy, hey, what's poppin', what's good? I'm so excited to have y'all tuned in for another episode of Manifest Daily. So my loves, this is another hybrid episode. So if you want to see my face, okay, if you want to see the little tropical setup we got going on, go ahead and head over to YouTube. It is going to be linked in the show notes as usual. So my loves, today we are chatting all about balancing a 9 to 5 and content creation. I feel like recently I've just been getting a lot of different DMs with questions about how I balance basically managing a full-time job and doing all the content creation for Manifest Daily. So that is exactly what we're chatting about today. I'm so excited. I have like a couple things I feel like I gotta say that my ruffled little feathers over here, okay? But we have to say it. We have to talk about it. I want to be like super transparent upfront with y'all, especially if this is something that you want to get into. I want to talk about like the highs and the lows of it all. So we're going to get into that. Let's go ahead and dive into just basically like my tips, my advice, my experience with balancing a full-time job and content creation. So the way that this episode is going to be structured is I'm basically going to be taking you guys throughout a day in my life and kind of taking you throughout the different things that I do throughout the day in order to really like create this sense of balance, or as much balance as I can create. Because I think one thing you're going to notice throughout this episode is that the idea is that I want to create as much balance as possible, but that sometimes, honestly, balance in like its traditional sense is not that possible when it comes to fitting in a full-time job and content creation. But basically, my day starts with waking up early. I've talked about this before in like my 5 ways to stay high vibe or to raise your vibe episode, how I wake up at about 6:30 in the morning. I've since changed that. I now wake up at 6:15 because your girl moves a little slow in the morning, okay? I move a little slow. I get up. Okay, first of all, my alarm goes off. I'm not even up out of the bed yet. Like usually, like I said in that episode, I'm checking my email. I'm checking social sometimes. Like I just kind of like am on my phone for like 5 minutes or so to wake up. Now, I know there's like people that say, don't get on your phone first thing in the morning, whatever. For me, literally, it doesn't set my day off in a bad way or anything like that. It works for me. If for you, you're like, you can't be on your phone early in the morning, do what you need to do. Okay, baby girl, do what you need to do. And the idea of this is that obviously the earlier that I wake up, the more that I can accomplish before having to log on to my 9 to 5 at work. One of the biggest things that helps me during my day is like actually having the ability to work out in the morning. I love being able to go to the gym in the morning. Like getting my workout in the morning, like I said multiple times before, is my version of like a morning meditation. I need to go to the gym. I need to get some movement in, whether I'm on the Stairmaster, whether I'm doing my little fast walk on the treadmill, whether I'm lifting some weights. Like I need to get to the gym and I need to get my movement in. So waking up at that time early in the morning allows me the ability to have a slower morning, to really like get settled into my day and wake up at a pace that feels comfortable to me, and also make it to the gym, have enough time to work out and everything before my 9 to 5. Another thing that I do in the morning is that I like multitask as much as possible. Now, I know our brains aren't set up to really like be able to multitask in the best way. Like we're not good at that. As much as people will be like, yeah, I multitask. Our brains are set up to really be able to focus on one thing properly at any given point in time. However, when I'm at the gym, I like to maximize my time. So I usually start off with like a little 10, 15 minutes, sometimes even like a 20-minute warm up on either the Stairmaster or the treadmill. And usually when I'm on the Stairmaster or the treadmill, like I'm going at a pace where I'm not like walking so fast or like going up the stairs so fast that I can't be on my phone. So usually during that time, I actually take the time to respond to DMs. I will take the time to post a reel, to post an Instagram post, to post a story, things like that. So if y'all follow me on Instagram, you'll notice that a lot of times I post stories early in the morning. I do post throughout the day, but I definitely post early in the morning. One thing when it comes to balancing a 9 to 5 and content creation is that you have to make the most out of your time. Like, say you have a minute during your day where it's like you have a little bit of downtime. Like, that could be a minute for you to post an Instagram story. That could be a minute for you to like think about some content ideas. Honestly, I won't even lie to you. The thinking about content, the creating content, like never really stops. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people fail to talk about. And I've seen, you see the memes or whatever, where it's like, some people talk about how like you quit your 40-hour a week 9 to 5 job to work 24/7 as an entrepreneur or as a content creator. Like, it is so true, because when you are creating content, when you are, especially when it's like lifestyle type of content, like any of that type of stuff where a lot of what you do in your day-to-day can be content or can inspire content, you really are doing this stuff 24/7. And that can in many ways inspire burnout, which we'll talk about later. However, I do like to maximize that time. Like I said, I'll be on the treadmill, I'll be on the Stairmaster, and I usually will post something. Typically, I'll have something already ready to go. So for example, like I'll know that I'm posting a reel on a certain day. So when I'm on the treadmill or on the Stairmaster, like I'll go on my Instagram and I'll have it in my drafts and I'll be able to post it live. I do use a tool called Later to post my Instagram like stills, like basically the one image post. But for something like a carousel or for something like a reel or for an Instagram story, you have to post it live in the platform. So I do use that time when I'm at the gym to basically maximize and post live. So that's like one little tip of how to balance or create some sort of balance, is like kind of taking advantage of those moments where you are able to multitask in some type of way and like post content or create content when you are able to do that throughout your day. So after my morning workout, I immediately come home and I get ready for my day. So that typically looks like taking a shower, of course, getting ready. My bed is usually already made in the morning before I leave for the gym. That's like part of my prepping to go to the gym routine, is like making my bed and everything like that. So when I come back from the gym, literally all I have to do is take my shower, do my skincare, all that good stuff. And then it's time to eat breakfast. Now, this is another multitasking moment. And honestly, some mornings I do try to just like have my breakfast and be able to relax, watch a show, just chill. But I won't even lie to y'all, a lot of mornings I'm eating my breakfast as I'm like answering work emails or checking work emails, things like that. So it's kind of like the pre-start to my day, the warm up to my day. So I'm like looking at emails, seeing what came through over the weekend, especially if it's a Monday. Mondays are my busiest days. Like on Mondays, typically if I don't have an episode of the podcast for Tuesday, it involves recording before work, things like that. But like I said, usually I make my breakfast and I'm like having my breakfast and stuff as I get ready for work. So typically for breakfast, I'll just have something super simple like a bagel or a coffee, but that's really like how I like to start my day. And I always make sure that I have something to eat in the morning, because if I don't, I get really cranky and I get really grumpy and it's really hard for me to focus and concentrate. So like I said, I spend my first bit of my day just like checking emails. I typically will check my work emails first. I'll go through, I'll flag anything that like needs an urgent response. I typically like don't respond right away as I'm eating, because I really just hate like having to type and then also having to eat at the same time. But I'll just kind of like go through and do a quick check of emails. And then if everything looks good, if I don't have that many work emails, I will switch over to checking Manifest Daily emails. So I have a couple different emails for Manifest Daily. There's like the hello at, there's the Dheandra at, and then a lot of times people also send me like podcast proposals or different podcast related things to my personal email. My podcast network actually sends me correspondence through my personal email. So I will check that email as well, just to make sure that there's nothing urgent. Now, one of my biggest tips, okay, when it comes to balancing a 9 to 5 and content creation is using a calendar or having some sort of schedule. Y'all know I have talked about this so many times. I feel like there's like multiple episodes. I think I talked about it in my productivity episode. I talked about it in another episode. I don't even know. I've talked about it so many times, but my Google Calendar, I live by that calendar, okay? What my calendar says it's time to do, that's what I'm finna do for that time of my day. And truly, it just helps me to stay so organized and know exactly what is going on. So the way I've set up my calendar is that I have like my work calendar linked with my personal calendar. So if I look at my personal calendar, I can see everything and everything is color coded. So all of my 9 to 5 stuff is in purple. I have like my social life stuff in pink. I have manifest daily stuff in like a terracotta. So I literally have everything color coded. So I can look at my calendar, like take a glance at my calendar and kind of see the high level of my day. This is so important because not only can I look at my calendar and kind of like get an idea of what's going on for the day, but I also have a really good idea of like how things will balance out for the day. So if I look at my calendar and I see a ton of purple, like I know that I have like a lot of meetings, a lot of catch-ups for my specific 9 to 5 job. If I see a lot of like that terracotta color, there's also one like manifest daily stuff is also in like a light yellow. That's when people book podcast recordings. I know I have like interviews that day. I know that I have to kind of like lean my mind more towards manifest daily, but I like to have it like that so I can time block and see what's going on throughout the day. Whatever medium you use, I don't think it matters. I think the idea here is that you really want to just stay organized and on point. If you're balancing a 9 to 5 and also content creation and also just like a social life and also just having other things, other responsibilities, you need to know what is going on at any given point in time during your day. I need to put everything in my calendar, or at least like for me, it is super helpful. Now, y'all may think it's a little type A. It really is just up to you, but truly, I feel like organization and having a calendar and having a schedule is something that truly allows me to like create as much content as I do in the consistent manner that I do. Yes, I have times where I fall off because right now I have not posted on Instagram Reels or TikTok in a minute, but that has more to do with like me taking a break, which I'll talk about in a little bit, than it has to do with like my consistency, my organization. That's just more like personal, like wellness and well-being stuff. But truly having a calendar is so like key to this entire process. Another leg to this is a content calendar. Now, y'all are like, not another calendar. Yes, baby girl, another calendar. I'm telling y'all, organization is like key to this process. So if you're someone who just kind of like goes with the flow, flies by the seat of your pants for this, like, yes, I think that having flow and like being intuitive about your creative process is beneficial in some ways. But when I tell you the key to consistency is organization, I'm not playing with y'all. So listen, take that tip, okay, and run with it. So another calendar that I have is my content calendar. And this is so crucial to my process. It's become even more crucial to my process because of the fact that now I'm working with sponsors for the show. So let me tell y'all how I organize it. So I have my content calendar in Google Sheets. And the reason I have it in Google Sheets is because like I've set it up like a calendar, but I like that it's digital and I like that I can add different rows for different things. So the way I have my content calendar set up is that every single month is like a tab on Google Sheets. So I have January, February, March, so on and so forth. And then every single month, what I do is like I go in and I plot out when there are episodes. And then if there's any single podcast episode that's going to be a YouTube video, I also have like a row where I block that out. So the reason my content calendar is so helpful is because now that I'm creating so many episodes, I like to plan ahead a little bit. Now, when I say that it's important to allow your intuition to be part of this process, what I mean by that is like I plan out my episodes, but sometimes what'll happen is like, say I have an episode that's supposed to be like a certain topic for Friday. Maybe on Thursday night, I get like a whiff of inspiration and I record a random episode. And instead of like that pre-planned episode for Friday, I'll like put in the other episode. So I plan, but I also allow myself like the opportunity to go with the flow, to move things around, which is why I love a digital calendar, because it does allow me to move things around and to shift things at like a last minute notice. It just really helps with the overall organization process. And I promise you, if you're someone that typically feels overwhelmed with the idea of creating, overwhelmed with the idea of like balancing a business and a 9 to 5, having different calendars and having different things to keep you organized is going to help you feel like you have it a lot more under control. If you're just kind of like, I don't know what's happening next week, and I don't know what products I'm dropping, and I don't know what's going on with my clients, and I don't know anything, yeah, you're gonna feel overwhelmed. Yeah, you're gonna feel like you're balancing a lot of stuff. Like it's gonna feel really hectic and really wild. And I don't want that for you. Okay, so get organized. I promise you, the calendars are a game changer, okay? Another thing I would say that's like been such a huge game changer for me is actually taking vitamins. Now, this is like a huge one because I'm that kind of person where sometimes I'll take my vitamins for like, a couple days here or there, or like maybe a week here or there, and then I fall off. Okay. I feel like a lot of us are probably like that, where like the actual habit of vitamin taking doesn't necessarily come natural to us. Like that's something you have to build up as a habit, right? But I know for one, I don't get all the things I need to get in my vitamins in the foods that I eat, because when I tell you, like, I'm really working on bettering my eating, because like fueling my body is big for me. It's so huge, like how the stuff that you eat and the way that you fuel your physical body affects your brain. So have y'all ever noticed that like if y'all are not eating good, like you be getting fuzzy brain, like you be forgetting stuff. It's hard to focus. Like if you're eating junk all the time, like that stuff becomes your regular. And I was noticing that when I was so busy managing like all the stuff I was doing, there would be times that like my eating and like the way I would fuel my body would sort of fall off. Like I wasn't doing that well. Like I was grabbing these quick meals from like Trader Joe's. Now I love them Hatch chili mac and cheeses from Trader Joe's, but baby, one thing about the mac and cheeses is they are not good for you. Okay, you cannot be eating that every day. And I was at the point where I was eating that every day. I was eating like ice cream every day. Like it's so bad. But it's because I would just be so busy that when I would get hungry, instead of me like wanting to take the time to cook a proper meal, I would just go ahead and be like, I'm gonna just grab whatever. I'm gonna just grab something quick. I'm gonna just like get something from like Panera or whatever and like eat that and fuel my body that way. Now, I definitely am working on that, on like combating that, on fueling my body in a better way. However, I will say that adding vitamins in, and not just that, but taking vitamins consistently has been such a game changer for my mind. Like I feel like my focus is just on like a much better level now that I'm taking specific vitamins and really like fueling my body a certain way to like allow it to work at its peak potential. Okay, so the last like part of my day that I think is really important for my balance is having a wind down routine. Now, if you're like me and you're working remotely, I think one of the struggles of working remotely is that your home and your work are so blended that it can become really, really easy to forget to switch off, to forget to stop working. And like I said earlier, when it comes to content creation, you're constantly like using the moments in your life to think about how to create content, or to think about how they inspire certain pieces of content. So I feel like your mind is honestly always on, or always in this on mode for work. And so having a wind down routine is so crucial for me, because when I don't do this, and it's not often that I don't do it, but I've noticed that if I don't really prioritize my wind down routine, I will literally struggle to fall asleep, or I struggle to stay asleep. And this also happens just regularly too throughout the month. Like certain times of the month, I've noticed that because of my hormones, I struggle with insomnia at certain points of my cycle, things like that. However, my wind down routine is even more crucial and more important because of that. So for my wind down routine, I do like my skincare routine. I like prep my bed. I do all of that good stuff. And I also like to get into bed a couple hours before I know I'm going to go to sleep. The reason is because I know myself, and I know that I like to take like a good maybe hour, maybe even an hour and a half to 2 hours to scroll through social. Yep, I do scroll through social media at night. Again, I do. But I also use that time to like watch YouTube videos. I will catch up on Succession, which I have been loving. Y'all, if you don't watch Succession, it is such a good show. Like, highly recommend, okay? It's on HBO. And so that's kind of like the first half of my wind down routine, is like the techie part, the part on my phone. Of course, this entire time that I'm on my phone, I do have my phone on like the yellow light setting, so I'm not like seeing a bunch of that blue light that's harsh on your eyes, especially when it's time for bed. The second half of my wind down routine involves reading. I have been loving reading psychological thrillers as part of like my wind down routine. And that will help me get into that mode of like sleepiness. Like I usually start to doze off as I'm reading, and that's when I know it's time to go to bed, and I put my Kindle away and I go to sleep. It's also really helpful too that I use a Kindle, because I have like what is it called? The Kindle Oasis. So it has like the backlight so I can read in the dark. And that's also really nice because I get like under my covers, I get super cozy, and I read that way. So I don't ever have to like get up to turn off a lamp or turn off a light or anything like that. Like I'm already in the prime position to go to sleep. And my wind down routine is so important because, like I said, it really just allows me to get into that relaxation mode, to prep myself mentally for bed, and to allow my brain to stop thinking about work. Because when I'm reading my book, when I'm watching my shows, I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about what I have to do tomorrow. I'm allowing myself to be super present in the moment with whatever I'm doing, what kind of content I'm consuming. And that just helps me to actually like let go and relax and get ready for bed. Okay, so now that we've talked about the day in the life stuff, I think it's really important to touch on the less glamorous side of this entire process. One of the things that is not so glamorous about this, but has also been like a huge factor in my life for I would say like the last 3 years, is working on the weekends. So again, if you follow me on social, you'll know that oftentimes I'll spend the morning of my Saturdays filming content. I'll spend like the afternoon or the evenings editing content. Sometimes Sunday nights, I spend like planning out content, working on my content calendar, things like that. I've gotten much better at like balance. And by that, I mean really saving my Sundays to be a day for me to relax, to be a day for me to just like hang out with myself, not necessarily focus on having to make content or do anything, and just really like watch shows and just have a fun, relaxing day that is dedicated to myself and my wellness and everything like that. However, a huge thing to consider here is that my 9 to 5 takes up so much of my week that I need more time to create the content or to make the content to be able to post consistently. And that means having to sacrifice some of that free time that I would normally have on the weekends. I think it's one of those things where when we talk about balancing content creation in a 9 to 5, I kind of don't even want to use the word balance, because in many ways, this process, this entire lifestyle, this entire reality does involve imbalance. It does involve imbalance because if you think about it, a 9 to 5 obviously is a full-time job, and content creation is another full-time job. And if you are doing 2 jobs, I'm sure some of you already are, like maybe you work full-time and you go to school full-time. Maybe you work full-time and you're a mom. Maybe you have 2 different jobs. Like whatever the case is, I'm sure a lot of you realize that like when you're balancing 2 different things, like there is sacrifice involved. Sometimes it means that you don't go out with your friends on a certain night. Sometimes it means that like you can't spend that money because you have to put it towards something else that you are investing in for your future. Sometimes it means that you do have to stay up a little bit later on any given night or wake up a little bit earlier and sacrifice a little bit of sleep. Now, I don't think it is healthy to say that this sacrifice mentality has to be hardcore all the time. I do really value my rest, and I have hit burnout multiple times in the last year to the point where I've had to take days off of work and just like literally do nothing to just recoup, revitalize myself, to get back to the space where I can actually like have the energy to do the regular things throughout my day. So I have hit burnout, and I do realize that like that is a huge factor in this entire thing. So I don't necessarily think that you have to like work yourself to the bone all the time, like do the most all the time. But what I will say is that this lifestyle, it's so glamorized. I think on the internet, people are like glamorizing entrepreneurship, glamorizing working for yourself, glamorizing all these different things. But some of the other parts that aren't talked about as much are a reality of the situation. Because I've had so many moments on this journey where I've had to learn through making mistakes. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this episode, to really talk about what I have learned over time and what has helped me over time. Like when I talk about the calendar, when I talk about the content calendar, when I talk about like the vitamins, all of these different things that I've mentioned in this episode, these weren't things that I always did. Like at one point, like I've always been a pretty organized person, but at one point I didn't have a content calendar. And then it got to the point where I was just like, I can't just have a running list of episode ideas on my phone and have that be it. I can't just hop on the mic and talk. Like I kind of do in some ways. Like these episodes is definitely something where I talk off the top of my head, but now I have to have outlines. Like now I have to have notes. I'm trying to increase the quality of my work. I'm trying to increase the quality of what I put out. I'm trying to increase the quality of how it affects you guys and like the messages that you're able to receive, the information that you're able to receive, what you're able to learn. But like the working on the weekends thing, I had to talk about that because I saw this like quote. I think it wasn't even like a quote. It was like this video, and I think it was Kobe Bryant who was speaking, and he was saying if you want to be the best of the best, if you want to excel in your particular career, in your particular craft, you are going to have to sacrifice some things. And I feel like in the spiritual community, there is often a lot of emphasis placed on flow, on going with the flow, on ease. And I absolutely believe that there's a time and place for flow, for intuition, for ease, for femininity, for leaning back and allowing yourself to receive. But I also highly believe that a part of this journey is also taking action, is holding yourself accountable, is allowing yourself to be consistent, to be dedicated, to be committed, to be organized. Because if you have a goal and if you have a vision and you are just allowing yourself to try to achieve that in a disorganized fashion, yes, if you're taking action, you're doing things in a disorganized fashion, you might get to your goal and you might get to that place in a few years or in a few months or whatever. I don't know what your goal is or what the timeline you envision yourself doing that thing in is. However, when you start to be organized, when you start to take certain steps in a very meticulous fashion and also allowing yourself to lead into that flow and that intuition and that ease whenever it is applicable, that is going to serve you so much better than you trying to do things really disorganized all over the place and talking about, this is my goal, this is my vision, this is my dream. Well, are you acting like it? Are you acting like this is what you really want? And that's the key. And like I said, a part of that really does involve sacrifice. I sometimes don't hear a lot of people talking about it, and it is what it is. Like, you can, approach this in whatever way that you want to, but for me, I'm okay with sacrificing like a Saturday morning here and there because I don't work all day Saturday. I'll do something on a Saturday morning and I'll go to the movies after, I'll go to lunch after. So it's not like I'm working myself to the bone. Like I said, you have to be very cognizant of that though, because it is easy to get into a place where you can hit burnout easier when you're balancing so many different things. But the sacrifice piece, it's a really uncomfortable but really important piece of this puzzle. And the last thing I want to mention is that there are times when I do feel very imbalanced because sometimes I feel like I'm slipping up at my 9 to 5 and I'm not doing what I need to do there properly. And I do get really nervous or panic that people are noticing or someone's going to say something to me. Other times I feel like I'm slipping up in Manifest Daily. I'm like, is the content I'm putting out okay? Is it good? Am I still putting out quality? Are people benefiting from this? Am I actually giving knowledge? Am I sharing knowledge? Is this something someone can learn from? And I do think that a huge part of that is that I am really hard on myself and I sometimes have perfectionist tendencies that I am trying to work on. But I do feel like sometimes that it's like a seesaw, and sometimes I feel like it tips on either direction a little bit too much and I slip up on the other thing. And so it's always this constant thing in my head where I'm questioning, okay, am I doing enough at my 9 to 5? Okay, am I doing enough at Manifest Daily? Making sure that neither one is being sacrificed too much, making sure that I am keeping up with both, because obviously my 9 to 5 is my main source of income, but Manifest Daily is something I want to grow, something that I love so much, that I'm so passionate about. And so I don't want to sacrifice that at all either. So it is constantly a balancing act of making sure that both of them get the attention and love and nurturing that they deserve. So my loves, that is basically it. That is all of my tips. That's kind of how I balance this. That's how I make the content happen. That's how I work at the same time. A lot of it is just fitting things in where I can find the time, and also understanding that sometimes things slip up, sometimes things get hectic, but really, like I said, a big key to this is organization and allowing myself to plan out as much as I can plan out, and really allowing myself to create spaces where I can go with the flow. If something gets canceled or something has to shuffle around, it doesn't ruin my entire day. It doesn't ruin my entire process. I have ways that I can shuffle things around on my calendar, ways that I can sort of go with the flow throughout my day as well. But I want to thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, for tuning in, for being here. Like I said, I hope it was super helpful. I hope you have taken something away from this episode, and I hope this inspired you to either create that content calendar or to take your vitamins or to do any other thing that's going to help you to be productive in balancing your 9 to 5 and your business or whatever you're doing on the side. Thank you again, my loves, for tuning in, for listening to this episode, or for watching if you're on YouTube. I appreciate you so much. And I will chat with you guys in the next episode, which I can't remember if we have one this Friday or next Friday, but I will chat with you guys in the next podcast episode. Bye, my loves. Have an amazing week.